Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Healing Conversations. My name is Einav Avni. I'm an alignment coach and energy healer. And this podcast, together with what I kind of do and believe in, is that there is a natural way of healing physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. And yes, and in the studio with me, I have Ginger Smith. And Ginger, hello. I'm sorry because I just noticed that someone else is joining the studio, and I believe that's your editor. So let me just submit. I mean, allow them to come in, and let's have a three-way conversation.
Oh, hi. Hi. Yeah, I'm Ginger, and I am a retired speech language pathologist who had to retire due to encroaching dementia. Today is my birthday. It's
Birthday.
May 88th, and I have written a book, and so about my adventures and life and dementia and resources and stuff. And I just appreciate you're allowing me to come on. I we interviewed before. I really enjoyed it, and I respect you so much that it's just an honor to be here.
Thank you so much. And I think, of course, your story is very inspirational and one that everyone want to hear more about. So let's just say hello to Shan Lin. Is that how you say your name?
Stanley, yes.
Hi, Chandler.
Okay.
Hi.
Right. So welcome also to the studio.
Thank you. I didn't know if you wanted me to join in, but Ginger said, just in case she has problems hearing questions, she thought maybe I could jump in and help. So I'm just here to be a support for Ginger. And if you have questions for me, great. If not, no worries.
All right. Okay.
Shan Lin is my wonderful editor. We've been working together for almost a year, and we're very, very proud of our book that we produced. She had to wrestle me into shape because it started out just as a journal, and crazy. I had no idea it would ever be published, so I just wrote it for me. And she had to put it in shape because chronologically it was a mess and stuff. So we've worked very, very hard on it. We're very proud of it. Shanlin, can you show it? Do you have it there?
Yes, I do. I have it here. It might be
Yay.
backwards if you can see it.
Nice. Congratulations, really. And today is coming live.
Thank
Today
you.
is being published today.
Yes.
Yes, so we have
Or
a three-way celebration, being on the podcast, having a wonderful birthday, and having the book published. I'm not sure which order, but
her birthday's first.
Yep.
yes, right.
Yeah,
So
I retired when I retired at 78, 10 years ago. I had to retire because I had the dementia symptoms coming on. Actually, they had been coming on for years and years, but I kept trying to overcome them. And finally, just couldn't. And so I dramatically retired and spent a lot of time trying to volunteering, because that was dear to my heart. Kept failing that over and over again. Finally, ended up my medical provider, Kaiser, was very, very good, authentic medical provider, tested me for years. It just went on for years to try to find out what the heck was wrong. They came up with all kinds of different diagnoses, frontotemporal dementia, Lewy body, because I had the physical, kept falling 8 times in 1 year. And finally, they kind of ended up with dementia unspecified, which, as you know, that's just an umbrella word. Um, and until I go on, I ended up in a nursing home. And I think, in our last meeting, we talked about that. I even ended up on hospice, dying basically. And I'd be thrilled to tell your listeners about my near-death experience. I know that would be close to your heart, so I'll wait and have you answer your questions.
right. Okay, because yes, I mean, we kind of know the beginning, right? There was diagnosis of dementia. We kind of know where we are today when there is no dementia. and now I really want to know about everything in between, and especially, of course, if there's anything that you can help people maybe do or try, in their own lives, because of course dementia is something that is so many people are being diagnosed with dementia, and it's impacting so many people and families. But when maybe we'll go back to the beginning.
Sure.
So you say that dementia, the people you were being tested for many different things. So how did it start? Where did you, maybe let me think about the actual question. What was
Well,
it that you were
maybe.
feeling or going through when you went for trying to have the diagnosis?
Oh, well, as a speech pathologist, I worked with people at Stanford and caregivers, and I knew what was up. In other words, I had been there, saw it, worked with people, and was horrified at what they said. You've got 5 years to live, go home and rot, just, because you have no chance at any sort of life. Well, that's not true. It's not true. The people with dementia can have a life of joy. They really can. And I think that's what our book is aimed at, helping people. That's just not my story, but we have incredible amount of resources. We have a section called Tips to Caregivers, where because I lived it, I taught it, I was a caregiver myself. It's very authentic. It's very up to date because I'm a researcher by trade, and Shan Lin is a perfectionist, if there ever was one. We had to really, really hard to authenticate the thing because we knew right away people would be a skeptic. How can she be doing so well when she was dying right there, in front of my family's eyes? They actually were, ordered my cremation, came in and started stripping my home to sell it. And here I am, wait a minute, I'm not dead yet.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. So
yeah.
how did it happen? What is the story? You say, you had to go into hospice because things were going, kind of deteriorating quite fast. And then what? What was going on? I mean, when you went into the hospice, and were you aware of that, or not?
Yeah, well, that's the mystery. That's kind of why we want people to actually buy the book if they can, because it is a medical mystery. I can tell you what happened to me and mostly the why, but it still is up there. And that's why one of the important things I want to get over to the caregivers or people who maybe they have an uncle, they have a grandfather, they're worried about their own possibility of having dementia. So, what we tried to produce in the book, and I really get into it, and I don't pay back. I don't hold back. I'm sorry. The down and dirty is in it, and it's rough to read. It really is. But the transformation is there too, and I think that's the exciting part. I don't hold back. It's very dramatic. Actually, I do a whole day of describing the horrors of being in hospice and dying. It happened to me during COVID, and that was one of the problems. Is that I had so many people, of course, did, but I had total isolation. One caregiver, because all the caregivers patients left, and that whole idea of being in solitary confinement almost uh, was so overwhelmingly horrifying. And I describe it piece by hour, and you can read that part. And I think people just don't realize the horrifying effects of dementia, what it can do to you, especially the behavioral component. That's what I think you might touch on, is that my behavior was so abhorrent and so horrifying to my poor caregivers. And I would do just really nasty, nasty things. And Alzheimer's memory stuff, that's bad enough. I'm not saying it isn't, but once you get into the behavior, like the Lewy body type or the frontotemporal type like Bruce Willis. My gosh, that's the painful one. That's the one that really hurts deep inside the poor caregivers. They're watching their beloved person become a different person. And that happened to me. That happened to my poor family.
But what you're saying is truly interesting because all of a sudden we have the ability to talk to the actual person, right? So it's not just about the behavior that we are aware of that, the other people notice. It's actually about how you are feeling and what is making you or causing you to behave in the way that now you can go back and explain. So what was going on behind the scenes? What was going on for you as you were going through all of these, events, being in hospice and all the frustrations and pains and stuff?
Well, for a while there, when I started getting symptoms, a long time ago, well, like 30 years ago, actually, I held on to it because I had to work. I was a speech pathologist, but I kept forgetting things. I kept making mistakes and behave. I went through this buying thing where I made the horrible financial mistake of signing up with a reverse mortgage, and my family didn't realize what I was doing because I was pretty good at hiding it. And I didn't realize, the term anosognosia? It means you don't realize what you're doing. And so it looked like I was just, family was upset and angry at me. And I didn't really know why because I didn't realize I wasn't trying to be mean or, manipulative or all those things, but I was doing those things and I was making them really bad financial decisions. Um, so as time went by and like I fell, they had to put me in a nursing home, fell 8 times. I was delusional, hallucinating. Um, got to the point where I was totally bedridden, couldn't move. They had to use a sling to move me. By then, I was barely responsive, and I stopped eating. By the way, I absolutely stopped eating because food was lava to me. I looked at it; it was moving lava. I lost over 100 pounds within months, and one of the things that I think helped my recovery was I had what's called autophagy. It's where I think my brain was somewhat cleansed because I stopped eating and I stopped giving it nutrients and it cleaned out some of the bad axons. That's a thing I've been studying. Like I said, I'm a researcher. I go into that's one thing, great thing about our book is it's so current. Everything in it is just right on, scientifically proven. We're really, really careful about quantifying everything, especially my diagnoses. We actually has a page in it that shows the complete medical history of that where it shows the actual dementia and frontotemporal and all that. And it's because it's so unusual this turnaround I had. We just had to show it in all its careful. We went through I don't know thousands and thousands of pages of my medical history to actually prove what was happening. People are like, wait a minute, she can't have gone through this. I prove it in the book. It's pretty exciting. I think it's an exciting mystery that people who've read it say, oh, I got to keep on reading and find out what happened to her. And the good news is I'm here. I'm fulfilled. I have a purpose. I'm proud of the book. And I'm so thankful you're allowing me to come on and tell your listeners about my story.
Yeah, well, absolutely. Of course, I want to hear everything, even though I had some of it before. But I want to know when you were in the hospice, I mean, were you aware of your surroundings? I mean, I know that some of the
That's
things that
uh-huh.
people are saying about dementia, right? That like, oh, they don't recognize me anymore, or they forget who I am, right? That's what people are saying about their loved ones that are going through it. But I want to know, were you aware? Yeah,
Yeah, that's really interesting because I have an uncanny knack for remembering everything in my life. I'm kind of this eidetic memory thing. Um, I have to say it was mixed. Most of the time, I was pretty aware. I was aware of my feelings, definitely. I knew when people were treating me bad or good that my feelings that when I would come in and maybe touch me and that was give me such joy. But at the same time, I had this anosognosia, which means I didn't know even as an ex-clinician, as a speech pathologist, I should have known, right? But I didn't. I didn't know what was happening. I kept saying, well, I think a very poignant thing I was saying to my grandson, I said, I don't know where I am. I don't know who I am. And that was a text message I said to him.
Right. So text message, it's very interesting, really, as a for me as a listener, because I recognize that I have no idea what someone in your situation is really going through, and like you're saying, sometimes when people are touching you or hurting you, and not necessarily on purpose, but you have all of these feelings, but you're not necessarily able to communicate them. And still you're saying, I can remember something, I can maybe recognize my grandson. So it's eye-opening to us that haven't been in your shoes.
Yeah, which I was just kind of thinking that I wasn't able, like you said, you're very right about that. I had an aphasia, a sense of aphasia, so I couldn't, like when I was in terrible pain. I'll give you that for an example. Um, I couldn't tell them where my pain was, and they also at that point, um, I didn't have. I have this loss of. Oh God, Shan Lin help me where I had this loss of filter. Oh, that's the word. Yeah,
Oh
filter.
yeah.
And I wasn't able to tell them where my pain was. And so they would medicate me, badly. They over part of the problem, Chandler well knows, is I was so over medicated.
Right. So
Yes, exactly.
yeah, the
Yeah. Oh,
medication.
oh yeah. I also want to say though, I want to really clarify the fact that I did not develop this uh, dementia from being over medicated. It came on me long before that, long before I was medicated so much. Actually, the first medication I had, gosh, that was what I don't know. I'm no good at time, but when they gave me that Aricept for Alzheimer's, that was the first medication I had. That was, I say, when it was 20 years ago. Anyway, somewhere like that.
Hmm.
Yeah, it was somewhere around there. Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right. So how long were you in the hospice? How long the whole period was since you went in and eventually when you came out?
Well, I went into the nursing home. Let's see, in 2018, I was in
No,
the nursing. What
2020.
do you remember?
Oh,
Okay,
yeah, it was
and then
February of 2020.
she said, "Oh, great help." I will say, but I'm going to throw in Shan Lin has been such an incredible person in my life. She's taken my story and made it into a beautiful thing, I think. She's she pushed me into shape and got the thing readable and fun. We put in humor and stuff like that. We had a great relationship, and I treasure her deeply.
Thank you, dear. You're quite amazing yourself. So,
Oh,
but I just
thank
wanted
you.
to clarify that I know you get mixed up with times. So you went into hospice, it was February of 2020, and
Okay.
you didn't technically come out until February of 2021, but that's because they just didn't renew the paperwork and stuff like that.
Hmm.
You really, I think you came out of technically the hospice around July or August
Sounds right.
um,
Yeah.
of 2020, but then you stayed in the nursing home, still recovering a little bit, and then until you got stronger, and then you went back home.
That's it. Yeah. So I I could have stayed in a office longer, and I wanted to because they provide all this great things. They had people, for instance, I had the nurses would come in or the social worker, and I was so alone. It was during COVID, but I kept getting better despite myself. I even wanted to lie and say, no, I'm not, and they were measuring my arms to see that I had started gaining weight. And that was like, I got too good and they took me off hospice, but I was still scared. I was, I, I was gaslit. I didn't realize that I could ever go home. It was quite dramatic that period of time for me. I managed to find a way to climb out of my hospital bed, climb over the rails, and I found my hospice notes and I read through them. And oh my gosh, I was on 20 medications. So somehow I didn't have a phone or anything. Something told me, and I want to get to the near death experience, something told me that I should write these down just in case. And I did. And I saved that piece of paper that it's in the book. The actual piece of paper I wrote down showing LBD, Lewy body dementia, and all these psychotropic drugs. And I'm not on any of them. I actually one of my late diagnoses was bipolar. I never had bipolar, and my psychiatrist really finally saw him after I came home. He said, "Oh, complete remission," and then he said, no bipolar even. So that's kind of I think interesting for your listeners is we're so misdiagnosed, and bipolar is one of them, and it actually turned out to be symptoms of dementia instead.
This is a very, very interesting thing that you're saying. It's exactly that, right? I mean, we go to the doctors and they don't know. And they don't know, but they're looking at symptoms and they say, well, our best bet, or it could be this or it could be that. But then they are giving you the pills, they are giving you the tablets to try and solve some of these things. But I
Yep.
noticed, from people I speak with, that people have no understanding of it's like they don't, the normal people, right? That we don't know what it is that we're being prescribed, and what the impact of all of these medications are on our well-being, on the side effects and all of that. So
Yeah.
it is, yeah, it's a very interesting point, because we trust the doctors so much, and yet
Yep.
we don't know.
Right.
No, no,
That's why they call
I
it
was prepared.
practicing.
Go ahead.
So
Stop
I was just gonna say
practicing.
that's why they call it practicing medicine, is because they really don't know all about what they're doing. They just throw medications and, oh, how are you feeling now? And if you feel like you're even a little bit better, you just stay on it. But that doesn't mean that that's the best thing for you. So we do get into that quite a bit, the polypharmacy and how to go about de-prescribing if it seems to make sense for you.
Hmm.
Because, basically she was dying, and when they removed all of the curative meds, that's when she started getting better. Um, and again, and she can talk about the near death experience that also kind of happened in conjunction with taking the meds away, because when you're on hospice, there's no need for all those medications anymore, just the comfort meds for painkillers, stuff like that. And so that's when her turnaround, coupled with the near death experience and some other things that were going on in her brain that we kind of figured out from all the research. It's there's a lot of detail, so I can't really list them all, but in the conclusion of the book is where you'll find all the basically the wrap up of here's what we believe happened and how you can, either you or your loved one, can possibly follow these same steps and see if it works for you too. I mean, what else have you got to lose? In some instances, besides taking 30 meds or 20 meds or however many your loved one is on, it's it's different things, somatic healing, there's trauma that needs to be resolved. There's a number of things that goes on that people don't realize. This is what your brain gets damaged, your body holds on to trauma, and it has things that we don't even understand, and doctors throw medicine at it, and that might just not be the right questions or the right things for that person. So we do go into that in detail. And I think if you want, I think you wanted to hear a little bit about Ginger's NDE. If you want to share a little bit of that, Ginger, at all.
Sure.
Because it was,
Yeah. Yeah,
yeah, pretty
I'd like
profound.
to because I think it impacted. I think a lot of Shan Lin's talking about impacted too, which we go into. And I think neuroplasticity is one of them. I
Mhm.
think resilience. I kept going through these adventures and overcoming them, like she mentioned, trauma, and actually there was abuse and a lot of other stuff. But the near death experience, I think, had a really big impact. I was dying. I had weeks to live. My body had totally shut down in every way. Couldn't move, couldn't talk. Orthostatic hypotension, all that near death experience, near death things you go through at the very end. And all of a sudden, I to me, I died. To me, now I realize, of course, realistically, it could have been chemicals, and it could have been a miracle. I don't know. That's just a mystery when I talk about in the book. Why I died, how I came back. To me, I died. Everything stopped. I'm not in my bed anymore. I'm in this incredibly beautiful. My body's not even there. Just a total love, dark, starry sky, just full of peace and love and happiness and release. And I had been going through such misery, and it was just a total feeling of joy. And then I had this feeling of something telling me I needed to go back, that it wasn't my time. I couldn't stay in this beautiful, beautiful, peaceful life and give up. I had to come back because I had a story to tell. I had something to go and share with people and help people. And although I didn't want to, here I'm 80, what, 5 years old, and time to die. I had to come back and be a beacon of help, even, what to call it. I had no idea how. I sure didn't know I was going to end up writing a book about it. I just knew that it was there, and I did come back. And slowly, it was slow, it was months and months of just learning to talk and walk again and make sense again and connect with people. And that's a big one too. I don't want to forget that. So important in my life, I think, and in my my turnaround is the connection with people and how much that meant to me as a person who normally I kind of I kind of stayed back. I'm not an aggressive person. I'm not that way. I had to learn to assert for myself, and that took a while. But through I call it my palsy. I have an incredible bunch of volunteers that work with me, that support me, that are there for me, and yeah, and I celebrate my birthday too.
So,
So I hope that talking about NDE, I hope that can help people realize that coming back and helping is my goal in my life right now.
well, I think anyone that I mentioned to that, that you're coming on the podcast, everyone was like, wow, there's definitely, uh, that's the happy ever after kind of thing that people are really hoping that we'll finally get into, right? And it's that because there is that fear about dementia and other illnesses for sure, but dementia is one of them that it's irreversible, that if you get it, then we lose you very quickly. And so there is a lot of fear of both the person suffering and the loved ones that but what I noticed from conversation is that it's very much, everyone seems to be feeling or worrying about it in the same way. So now that you have a different story, it is definitely very, very interesting for people. And I like that you say that in the book there are some, tips and suggestions of what people might be able to do or
Mm.
try to get them. I don't know if the word is better or maybe prolong things or I don't know, but this is
Uh,
another interesting question. I mean, do you think that, I mean, of course you can't know, but do you think that anyone can come out of dementia? Can everyone deny their dementia?
Oh, sure. I don't think I'm the only person in the world, that's for sure. Um, and there are forms of dementia that people do come back from. Like no, I'm not thinking of certain infections or like hydrocephalus, and there are forms, but the type of dementia symptoms I presented with, including the Parkinsonian type of ones, that's the one people say that that is reversible. Well, it's not. It's not. In my lifetime, probably won't happen, but I'm convinced there will be a cure for dementia. They're coming up with stuff all the time, and we're very up to date in our book too. By the way, we talk about the new blood test that actually now it's proven. Now it's on FD. Oh, the word, but it's proven. Yeah, Alzheimer's about 80 or 90%. It can diagnose. Um, Gosh, where was I? I get so excited sometimes. I want to talk to people and say, stay healthy, use somatic, use diet, use exercise, use music, use whatever you can. It's been proven it does prolong life. I'm not promoting the medical thing. I mean, I'm not, I'm not a doctor, but there are medicines out there that look pretty good. And stay alert, stay educated. I really should let's support these dementia groups like Dementia Action Alliance and these other caregiver groups because you learn from each other. You learn what's happening, and like for me, you're learning from me directly, and in the book about what is and what could be from a person who lived it and taught it. And that's what we say, Shan Lin, you agree. Stay ready, stay educated, because it's going to happen.
Hmm.
Yes.
And what are some tips or suggestions or something that you can advise or share with the caretakers? What are some do's and don't do's?
Well, definitely what I call stay in their life, be part of their life. Don't like I was pretty much isolated, just me alone and sitting in a chair in a white room, and I know no things to. Well, my brain was just destroying as isolated. So stay with the person, live their life, believe in them, give them respect, realize that some of the things that they are doing and it can be aggravating for it's just not them. Don't blame them on them. Try to distract. There's a lot of good techniques out now, and you do that too. You tell people all the good stuff that can a caregiver can do with the person. There's a lot, and in our book, we do this. I said tips to caregiver. I thought it's like a bonus section of the book, and I also believe that in creative fibbing, for instance, reminiscing is you've got to be careful. You're not going to I'll throw this out like, let's say, oh, I'll give a small one. My beloved cat, uh, I was talking about to my family about it, and I so miss my cat. They actually found a home for my dog, and my grandson blurted out, "Oh yeah, he died. It was horrible." Oh my gosh! I mean, I cried for hours and hours and hours over that. I know it's not crying for a relative or something, but that cat was so. Pets are for me the big thing. They could have said, oh yeah, she's fine. We took her to the vet, or anything, but that stark, she's dead. Just it threw me. It threw me. So think of your loved one. If you can avoid painful things to relate to them, just use a distraction too. You just say, oh, well, let's go for a walk, or let's play this music. You don't have to be so frank with things that can hurt. Why do that to the person anyway? What you know? Yeah, to be with love. I think that bottom line is treat your loved one with love and respect because it's not their fault. It's a brain disease that's doing it. It's not them.
And because I guess again in my understanding is that sometimes maybe you were more aware of what was going on and maybe some other times less aware, and sometimes you were able to communicate and maybe other times not so able to communicate. But what basically you're saying is that yes, approach with love and care, and then whatever the situation might be, then it will be easier on the person actually going through all of that. Um,
Yeah.
and I want to know what was your recovery like? So the moment that you realized that you were more aware than you were before or for a while, and then that you were getting better, and then the actual recovery until you went home. What was that like?
Oh, okay. Actually, it was slow. It was slow, like I mentioned. Um, it was helpful when I found my notes that I realized that, wait a minute, something's going on here. I had just, bottom line is took months and months. Even after I came home, I was still aggravating my poor family. I was really kind of a mess. They thought it was my being cruel to them. My poor daughter-in-law was trying to help me, and I would yell at her. And it took a while, but I slowly started gaining my senses back. And along with that, I began to realize that, yeah, what happened to me was a brain change. It wasn't me being nasty or, and I started reaching out. That was so important to me. I started reaching out to people. I got a volunteer, for instance, that came that and still come to my house. Started being able to open up and talk about my feelings. That was so important. I don't want to get a therapist too. I've had for a while. I believe in that. And I'm just, maybe it's not for everybody, but I know that that was a big, big help for me. You know, she's been in my life for quite a while, and I respect her. And she taught me to. It's not all about you. It's not all about you, Ginger. Was a big one. And yeah, she let me develop my own resistance and uh, yeah, resilience. And it was slow. It's kind of a long answer there, but it didn't happen overnight. It took months and months.
Mm.
If I can add
Sure.
something here, I know that she, at the beginning of the recovery, she realized that she was finally hungry. Remember, you said
Oh yeah.
that you, at that point, you became clear that food wasn't lava anymore and you needed it to get stronger. So she started basically eating as much as she could.
Too
And when
much.
she got enough strength, then she was able to get herself out of her bed in the middle of the night. And she was fortunate because they didn't have any alarms. She, at this point, was only the last person besides the owner's mom was also one of the patients, but she was the only other person. And so in the middle of the night, she was able to get out of bed and she would go into the kitchen and find whatever food she could and just eat voraciously. And that's when she started gaining weight, gaining strength. Her mind was clearing, and she realized that more and more her purpose was to just keep doing this so that she could maybe go home someday, but she didn't want to allow herself to think that. I remember you saying you didn't think in a million years you were going to ever be able to go home, but you still had that hope that if you got well enough, it could happen in the future, but you had to get well before you could even take that step. So that's kind of it was, as the brain started to clear and she realized that the better she thought about how she wanted to help people and having those positive thoughts and eating and getting stronger, because without nourishment your body really can't do much. So it just, yeah, it was just baby steps literally,
Yeah.
that got her stronger, and she had to hide it from the owner and from Tony, her nurse's aide, because if they found out she was doing these things, they would take away some of her privileges that she had gotten back by this time. So it's kind of she had to be sneaky, and it's a very cute story, the way she tells it. So I'm not doing it justice here, but those are the pieces that I remember. So
It's very
Yeah, thank you, thank you. Yeah, that really tells it well. I have this kind of funny thing in my life. I mean, if you can't laugh about things, what are you doing? So I had these adventures all my life. You found out. One of them by things like I was Dustin Hoffman's roommate. I could so I was a donkey baseball trainer. I've had all kinds of life adventures, and some of them pretty horrifying, but they gave me the resilience. I think that helped me a lot. Once I was so down and out, I've gained my weight back. I'm normal now. Now I've got to watch it.
So, Ginger, in what way are you hoping, this story is going to, what shape is it going to take when people hear about your story and, of course, being inspired by it? How are you hoping to share this story with everyone? I don't know if that was a clear question, actually.
Oh, I do so hope that they actually can get past my funny life, and half of the book is kind of my life, my adventures, and then I really go into the dementia, what happened, what I feel, how we eventually came out of it, and a lot of QR code, just lots of good, solid information about dementia, about healing. It's in there, and it's important, and that's what I feel. I hope in the end, people could be inspired for themselves that there it can be joy and happiness and fulfillment in their lives, and a lot of good solid advice for people, for caregivers, or for people themselves, or anybody that might think maybe they might have, or that the medical profession is screwing them over, pardon the expression. I have a lot of that. I want to bring that to people. I want a basic line is provide solid help for people from my experiences, my lived experiences in my life, and my resources, and my the fact that the book is so authentic, it's so real, it's so quantified. And so you can read it with comfort, knowing that we do talk, we do talk about making it so absolutely real, factual. It did happen, and that's the important thing is people can take that with comfort and then find fulfillment from it. That's my bottom line.
Well, I think,
And really,
sorry.
no, it's fine. I just wanted to add that, overall, and my goal also, not just to tell Ginger's story, but also that there are so many people that are being diagnosed with dementia these days, or any cognitive dysfunction. And most people right now think, okay, now I'm just going to wither and die. That
Yeah.
because that's all that's out there. That's all that they know. That's all that's in the zeitgeist, so to speak. But this story, Ginger is living proof that that doesn't necessarily mean that it is the end. It may not be. You might still be able to turn things around doing different things. The steps that we've got in there, just having hope. When people lose hope, they lose pretty much everything. The will to live goes right out the door. So I wanted to put at least a minimal amount of hope to give people more of a will to live and to fight it. Ask more questions. Be curious, not furious. Just embrace what you've got, but then educate yourself and realize that not everyone just withers and dies. There are options that you can try, and they may work, they may not, but at least you need to have the complete mindset change of it's possible. Because right now, I don't think very many people talk about it as even a possibility of being reversible. That's that's my bottom line for this book is that it just changes people's mindset and makes them curious and says, "Oh, well, yeah, I've got it, but that doesn't mean it's the end or that I'm going to just fade away and die quickly." So,
Yeah, and I think that's exactly the point, right? That really, with this podcast, with these kind of conversations, that's exactly what we want to do, is to bring this awareness, to say, hey, if it happened for one person, it can happen for another one, and let's just have this conversation. Let's just spread the word. Let's spread this message that there are things that can be done, and don't lose hope, really, like you say. So I
yeah.
guess one other
And
question.
that's why I like your program so much. Because it's based on hope.
Yeah,
I love that.
yeah. Well, thank you. Um, Ginger, what are some things that you feel as someone who's experienced all of this? What are some things that the system, really the doctors and the care, not so much maybe the caregivers, like your family, but actually maybe like the hospice, what are some things that they can do differently to help improve the lives of people with dementia?
Well, I think people should open up their minds because there's such a lot of thinking in the box. I recommend start thinking out of the box. So there is possibilities. It's just not out there. It's coming. It will be there. A lot of it has changed now. Like we with nutrition, all that. So those good things, those soft skills, they're called that people can and the caregivers or even the professions. I want to reach out to other speech pathologists, occupational, all that. That they're open your minds. Uh, there is hope now compared to when I was a speech pathologist. I was working with patients, and I was only allowed like two visits. So they're not worth any more than two visits. They're just going to be warehouse. Basically, I was warehouse for a while, and that's in the book too. So one of the things that I just recommend is keep your eyes open. Vet carefully. Right now, there's some of these real crooks that are promoting. They come on like, here, I'm an authentic doctor. They say, whoa, this one's a chiropractor, and they're peddling juice and fake pills and stuff like that. And also, one of the things I'll just throw in that happened to me, I was scammed when I came home. My mind was not all clear, and three different guys scammed me over Facebook, a general, like as if a general wanted to talk to an 85-year-old woman. But by then, my confusion, my anosognosia, they call it, I didn't, real. Thank goodness they didn't get money from me because I didn't have any money, but they did get my self-respect. And so one of my hobbies to this day is exposing them on Facebook. I spend time doing it, and I contact them and tell them, show what the crooks are they are, and the the vulnerable women who respond to them. I send messages. So that's that's one of my fun hobbies that I actually am pretty proud of doing because I don't, and it's in the book, the whole thing about scammers, and it's a section of the book that I'm really proud of.
Awareness, right? It's I think it's fascinating, but I really like what you're saying. Really, basically, for people, the doctors and people working in the hospice and stuff like that, that they need to watch their attitude and not behave like there is actually only one way direction, right? There can be other ways, there can be other solutions or situations that arises. So really be mindful that don't have this attitude that actually the person is going to to end up and die very soon. So I think that in itself is already really important. And I love this conversation because it brings so many things to the surface that we can think about, right? Really question our own understanding and attitudes towards this illness and others like that. Because yes, like you say, things are changing and you can diagnose things a little bit earlier and maybe you can prevent them already as well, or maybe you can do things in a different way that will make life a little bit better for the people that the sufferers or the families. So Ginger, we're about to finish the conversation today, but do you have any last message that you want people listening to know before we say goodbye?
Well, I just hope that they take it like I mean it. Like the book is full of resilience and hope, and get past me, get past my story because it's really for you, not for me. The book was written for you, and it's what you can do to help yourself and your loved one, and you can. And there are things that in the book that'll help you in your life. So get past me and really enjoy the book because it has a lot of fun and humor in it too. Not all gloom and it's therapeutic. I think really when I think about it, and that's how I want you to take it.
Mhm.
And I want you to, if you don't mind, if you do, send some reviews in. It's free for about 3 days, isn't it, Shan Lin?
Yeah.
And then it's
Yes.
officially going to be, you have to buy it. So you have a chance if you jump on that, you can get the PDF free and the,
No, actually, it'll be the ebook. The
oh,
digital Kindle is free on June 1st, 2nd, and 3rd. So all day, starting at midnight Pacific time on June 1st until midnight, basically the end of June 3rd. Then everybody can download it for free, the Kindle version, and because we want to get it out to as many people as we can. And of course, not everybody likes the ebook, so obviously they can, as of today, buy the paperback or the hardcover if they'd like. But yeah, I also think, Ginger, I don't know if you've um touched on this, but the scientific community, the brain researchers and those kinds of people, they're still very closed-minded about all this. I know someone has said dementia is not, reversible. You don't come back from this. And one of her, I think it was your psychiatrist that even said after you
Yeah.
came home, you've had a complete recovery from dementia. I mean, that is what his words were, or her words. I can't remember.
Yeah.
But they're one of the few people that actually are willing to say that. Most of them are very closed-minded about it, and they just think that it's not possible and it's just a bunch of BS. And you must have all the doctors that she saw all those years that said she had dementia, they all must have been wrong, and there's just no way it could have happened. But we want the brain researchers to possibly talk to her in detail and figure out, do studies, study her brain, do something.
Mm.
This could
Hey,
be a
Shan,
great
I want to
opportunity.
donate my brain, right? But I want to
Yes,
still be living. So wait till I'm
right.
dead.
So in some way, we think that, she is a unicorn. She's been called a unicorn, and when you get a unicorn, you need to study it, right? So that's what we're also hoping will happen.
Yeah, I
Y-
think that's the
Yeah, Chifa Snow, I think you might know her name. Called me a phoenix too, rising from the
Yeah,
ashes, so to speak. So I'm kind of proud of that.
yeah. Well, Ginger and also Shan Lin, it's wonderful to have you both here as guests today. Thoroughly enjoyed our conversation, and I love your message, and I love everything about your story. Of course, I think it's so amazing and remarkable that you've gain this, complete remission, and you came back to us. So now you can tell your story. And this is an incredible story, and everyone should really get the book and listen to the story and be reminded, or find out for the first time that there are, exceptions, there are ways to do things differently. And maybe when more people are doing them, there will be more people that getting the same results that you did. So thank you so much for being
exactly.
here with us.
Mhm.
Thank
Oh,
you. Thank you for
thank
having
you
us.
so much.
It was our pleasure. Thank you so much for being
Yeah,
able to talk with us and get us out, get the message out. We don't know how else to do it besides through people like you. So
yeah, yeah.
thank you very much.
You do a wonderful service. I really appreciate
Yeah,
it. We'll do it again. Okay.
We'll do it again. Yes. So for everyone watching, Ginger's information, the book, and everything will be, of course, in the show notes. Please do get in touch. Please do share the message, and we need to bring this into the world. Natural healing
Oh, yeah.
is
I'm
possible.
very open for people who want to contact me. Absolutely.
Yeah,
Yeah. Thank you for
yes.
mentioning that.
wonderful. Okay, thank you so much,
All
both.
right.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you. Bye.